Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're tackling a universal frustration, something literally all of us struggle with, keeping people's attention when we talk to them. Whether you're leading a massive board meeting, pitching a brilliant new idea to your team, or, just trying to explain a complex topic to a friend, you are fighting a constant battle against distractions. The human brain just loves to wander. But what if you could engineer your communication so that your audience hangs on to your every single word? Well, today we are uncovering the foundational architecture of audience engagement, and we're breaking down exactly how to structure your delivery to command focus from the very first second.
Stop right there. Did you just check your phone? Did you look at another tab? I bet a few of you did, or at least kind of thought about it, right? And that right there is the very first lesson from our source material in action. Start with the unexpected. If you begin your presentation the exact same way everyone else does, with a polite greeting and that predictable throat-clearing intro, you've already lost them. Their brains have immediately categorized you as safe to ignore. But by doing something completely unexpected, like abruptly stopping, asking a direct question, or breaking the fourth wall, you shatter that expected pattern. You literally jolt your brains awake. You force them to look up and wonder, wait, what's happening? That is the absolute secret to an engaging start.
Okay, let's dive into this. The research we're looking at today lays out 8 highly specific skills you can pick up to master this art of keeping audience attention. We're talking about starting unexpected, keeping a concrete start, writing clear headlines, keeping it moving, getting to the point, making it about them, arousing emotions, and keeping it interactive. We just experienced that first one, but to truly become an architect of engagement, you need the whole toolkit. So let's group these into 3 phases. Starting with phase 1, perfecting the start. You have an incredibly narrow window to prove listening to you is actually worth their time. As we just saw, you absolutely must start with the unexpected. This is pure pattern interruption. Human beings are creatures of habit, and our brains are incredibly efficient at tuning out predictable stimuli just to save energy. If your audience expects a dry data readout, and you give them exactly that, their mental screensaver kicks in immediately. But when you start with a jarring statistic, a completely counterintuitive claim, or a sudden, powerful visual, you break their normal pattern. You trigger a biological response that demands their focus. You're essentially telling their brain, hey, pay attention, this is different.
Now, once you've broken their pattern, the next step is absolutely crucial. Keep it concrete at the start. Imagine starting a presentation by saying, we're going to synergize our cross-platform paradigms to leverage dynamic deliverables. I mean, what does that even mean? It's entirely abstract and vague. Your audience is instantly confused, and confused people just tune out. Contrast that with being concrete and grounded. Today, we're going to fix the exact software bug that cost us $10,000 yesterday. Boom! Concrete, real, tangible. The research emphasizes keeping it concrete at the start because your audience needs an immediate, solid anchor. They need something they can visualize and grasp right away before you take them into more complex territory.
The final piece of perfecting the start is writing clear headlines. Think of a headline as a giant neon signpost on a busy highway. If the signs are confusing or missing, drivers get lost and frustrated, right? Well, when you're speaking, your audience is navigating your information. A clear headline signals exactly what the next section of your talk is about. It completely removes any cognitive friction for the listener. They don't have to guess where you're going, you're telling them straight out. This technique ensures that even if their attention wavers for just a split second, a quick glance at your clear headline immediately snaps them back into the flow of your argument.
Now, what's really interesting about this next part is phase 2, maintaining the flow. You've captured their attention, but the middle of any presentation is a danger zone where momentum usually dies. First up here, keep it moving. Notice the pace right now? You have to maintain momentum. If you linger way too long on a single point, if you belabor a fact that the audience already understands, or if you pause unnecessarily, you create a vacuum. And in that vacuum, distraction thrives. Now, keeping it moving doesn't mean you have to rush or speak at 1,000,000 miles an hour, but it does mean there should always be a sense of forward progression. Every single sentence should push the narrative forward. Every new idea should introduce a fresh layer of value. Momentum is the ultimate enemy of boredom.
And closely tied to keeping it moving is this. Well, actually, before I explain this one, I should probably give you a little bit of backstory. You see, a few years ago, I was researching the origins of effective communication, going all the way back to ancient Greece, and I realized that a lot of philosophers... Okay, actually, I'm gonna stop right there. See how incredibly annoying that was? Get to the point. That is the blunt directive from our source material. Cut the fluff. Strip away the unnecessary preamble. In an explainer like this, or really in any meeting, your audience is silently begging you to just tell them what they need to know.
Being blunt and getting straight to the core of your message shows immense respect for your audience's time, and for sure, they'll reward you with their focus. But great structure isn't quite enough. That brings us to phase 3, forging the connection. If your audience doesn't feel a personal, human link to your words, their attention is going to fade.
You know, it's incredibly common for speakers to operate from a look-at-me mindset. They focus on showing off their expertise, highlighting their hard work, talking about their own goals. But our source text gives us a crystal-clear mandate: make it about them. This is an audience-centric mindset. If you want people to pay attention, you've got to frame your information in a way that directly impacts their lives, their problems, or their interests. Don't say, "Here's what I found in my research." Instead, say, "Here is how this research is going to save you 3 hours of work every single week." When you make it about them, their ears naturally perk up because, let's face it, everyone is incredibly interested in themselves. Furthermore, we need to go beyond just spitting out data. You must arouse emotions. Human beings are not perfectly logical calculators. We are deeply emotional creatures who just occasionally think. If you only provide dry facts, you are only engaging a tiny fraction of their brain. The research emphasizes that to truly lock in attention, you need to make the participants feel something deeply. Whether it's a sense of urgency, a spark of inspiration, a feeling of shared frustration about a common problem, or even just a moment of genuine amusement, emotion acts like a highlighter pen for the memory. When people feel something, they pay attention and they remember.
Seriously? Are you? Think about your answer for a second. By directly asking you this question, I'm applying the final technique from our module: keep it interactive. Interaction is the ultimate failsafe against distraction. When you're just passively listening, it is so easy to drift away. But the moment a speaker asks a question, throws out a poll, or asks the audience to visualize a scenario, you go from passive consumers to active participants. You literally force re-engagement because the brain has to process the interaction and formulate a response. Keeping it interactive ensures that communication remains a true two-way street.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the whole thing comes together. We started with a raw list of skills, but now we can see how they perfectly fit into the anatomy of any great conversation. In the start, you capture them by being unexpected, concrete, and clear with your headlines. In the flow, you maintain that hard-won attention by keeping it moving and getting straight to the point. And finally, in the connection, you lock them in by making it about them, arousing their emotions, and keeping it beautifully interactive. These aren't just isolated tips, guys. This is a comprehensive, structured approach for becoming an absolute master of audience engagement.
So, I leave you with this final thought. You now possess the blueprint. You understand the mechanics of capturing and holding human attention based on these 8 powerful techniques. But knowledge without action is just trivia, right? Think about the very next time you have to speak, explain, or persuade. Look at these tools. Which of these 8 techniques will you intentionally choose to architect that conversation? Will you shatter their expectations right out of the gate? Will you forcefully make it about them? The choice is entirely yours. Go out there and start building better engagement. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.